What's up?
It isn't right
What isn't right?
where we're at. We're way off.
Really?
What do you think you've achieved?
Gold in your pocket, did I say that? Sounded like it. No, I've lost several. 100th000. Okay, I'm worried that I'm going to lose my business buried deep in the wild. Parker Schnabel found an old mine filled with gold left behind in a rush. The gold shone untouched for years, waiting to be taken. His team worked fast, pulling out treasure at a crazy speed. But the deeper they dug, the more they felt something was wrong. Then they found it. Odd tools, strange marks and signs that warned them to stop tuning. As Parker uncovers a dark secret so big it could change the past and bring danger to those who dig too deep. The mine that was never meant to be found at first glance. Everything about this place scream jackpot. Thick veins of gold lined the rock walls, gleaming even in the dim light. No old school tools, no sign of mercury, just pure raw treasure waiting to be taken. Parker didn't hesitate. He claimed every last bit for himself. But gold comes at a price, and what he unearthed wasn't just wealth, it was a mystery wrapped in danger. When I was a kid, I remember one day my grandpa had a 42-0 day, and they would SLO for 4 hours. Same conditions as here, but as the dust settled, a low guttural sound rose from the depths. His crew got to work fast. This wasn't Yukon mining, no permafrost to battle, no $1,000,000 machines sucking up fuel, just simple, efficient digging with rewards that came way too easily. They pulled over 100 g of gold in just a few hours. It felt like stealing from history itself. But then something fell off. The deeper they dug, the more questions surfaced. Who left this mine behind? Why did no one ever come back? And then, right as they reached what should have been the most lucrative part, they found something they weren't prepared for. Evidence that they weren't the first to uncover these riches, and those who had come before they left in a hurry. Then came the massive dig. Another miner in the area, desperate to hit the bedrock, had been working for weeks, pouring everything he had into a single hole, a hole that kept sucking out money faster than it gave back gold. It was a high stakes gamble, the kind Parker knew all too well. He watched closely, knowing how easily fortunes could flip from rich to ruin. But here's the kicker: the deeper Parker's team went, the clearer it became that this wasn't just an abandoned mine. It was a time capsule frozen in history. The rock formations didn't line up with modern geological maps. The tools they found too advanced for the period. Someone had been here before, and they had left something behind, something more valuable than gold. Kano's team, the other miner on site, was just as desperate. If they could pull 5 or 6 kilos of gold in one haul, they'd be set. But it was never just about the money. It was about the chase, the thrill of knowing that something massive was just within reach. I'm amazed at the pans we had. Further downstream, we spent millions of dollars stripping to get to ground like that, and they're just scooping it up off the side of the river bank. Crazy. Every scoop of dirt was either a step toward fortune or a reminder of how fast things could go wrong. Parker had been in tight spots before, but this was different. There was an energy in that mind, something that whispered of past miners who had tried and failed, and yet with every passing hour his instincts told him to keep going. Because what if this was the one? What if this was the site that could make history? The ground got more unstable. The deeper they dug, the closer they got to something that had been waiting beneath the surface for centuries. And then they hit the bedrock, the final layer, before either striking at rich or walking away empty-handed. This was it, and there was gold, more than they had expected, more than any mine in the area had produced in decades. But the real discovery, it wasn't just the gold. It was what they found alongside it. Artifacts, markings that didn't belong to Any known mining operation someone had been here before, long before modern miners ever set foot in this land, and they had left behind a secret that Parker wasn't sure he wanted to uncover. With riches in hand, Parker had a choice to make: take the gold and walk away, or keep digging, keep risking, and chase something even bigger. He'd spent his whole life mining, but some treasures aren't meant to be found, some itself against the very earth that had hidden these secrets for centuries by now. Parker wasn't sure if they were digging for gold or for answers. His crew, exhausted and on edge, kept working, each of them knowing they were part of something far bigger than they had signed up for. But the question lingered in the back of everyone's mind: were they prepared for what they were about to find? Days turned into weeks. Every ounce of gold they pulled out of the mine was another reminder of how much was at stake. The artifacts, carefully documented but never fully understood, raised more questions than they answered. And then, just as they were about to wrap up, they hit something they never expected: a chamber sealed off from the rest of the mine, untouched, disturbed, waiting. What they found inside changed everything. This was more than a gold mine. This was something ancient, something lost to time, and Parker knew in that moment that he had a choice: take the gold and leave, or step into the unknown and uncover the truth buried beneath the surface. Mining isn't just about gold. It's a fight to stay on top. The battle for mining supremacy back in the early days. Todd Hoffman and his crew stormed into the gold mining scene with more enthusiasm than since they barely scraped together 15 ounces of gold, which wasn't even close to the big payday they dreamed of. That first season was brutal. No experience, bad luck, and a whole lot of reality checks. But instead of quitting, they doubled down, ready to risk everything again. I thought we were done looking like idiots, but nope, we're still got a little bit of that to go on our journey to become miners. Hit like a sledgehammer just when the Hoffman thought they were getting the hang of it. They lost their claim at Porcupine Creek. Dakota Fred Hurt swooped and took over and basically kicked them to the curb. Instead of licking their wounds, they hustled to Quartz Creek and clawed out nearly 100 ounces of gold. Meanwhile, a teenage upstart named Parker Schnabel was making moves at Big Nugget Mine, showing up the veterans and proving he wasn't just a kid playing in the dirt. The Hoffman weren't messing around anymore. They pulled in over 800, a massive leap from their rookie year. Parker, still sharpening his skills, managed nearly 200. This wasn't just about luck anymore. It was about strategy, grit, and knowing when to take risks. The competition was officially on. Brought another wave of ambitious moves. Parker, no longer content with playing it safe, pushed himself to haul in over 1,000. He was making a statement. Todd Hoffman and his crew had their best haul yet, but their numbers were starting to look small next to Parker's rise. The pressure to perform was starting to feel heavier, and the rivalry was no longer just friendly competition. Parker shattered expectations with more than 2,500 ounce. The Hoffmans refusing to be left in the dust. Rock in nearly 1,400 ounces. The battle lines had been drawn, and the days of amateur mining were long gone. Every single decision mattered now. Every mistake cost money. Every setback felt personal. Parker's dominance reached new heights. He pulled in more than 3,300, proving he was no longer a rising star. He was the one setting the standard. Tony beats a veteran who had been in the game for years, added more than 700 ounces to his growing empire. The competition was powerhouse with over 3,000. Rick Ness, now proving himself as a leader, cross the 1,000 ounce mark. The pressure wasn't letting up, and every move had to be calculated perfectly. Brought another Leap forward Parker and his crew hit. Over 8,300 their biggest season yet. Tony Beats never wanted to be left behind. Racked up more than 4,600 Rick NES. Wasn't slowing down either, surpassing 2,000 the gain was evolving and the miners had to evolve with it. Another ruthless battle for dominance. Parker's team locked in more than 8,100 Tony Beats dominated with over 5,000 and Rick NES continued proving his mettle. With more than 1,000 ounces, the gold was still out there, but it was getting harder to find, and every misstep could mean the end of a season's worth of work. But this show was never just about the gold, it was about the fights, the betrayals, and the rivalries that made it impossible to look away at the end of the day. Something needs to change. I really don't care right now. Ideal is made. We'll stick to this one good enough. These miners weren't just chasing treasure, they were fighting for pride, for respect, and for the right to call themselves the best. Jim Dorsey and Greg Ripper's fight in Season 1 was just the beginning. When the gold wasn't coming and patience wore thin, tempers exploded. Dorsey couldn't take it anymore and finally snapped. Rimberg wasn't backing down, and before long fists were flying. Dorsey left for good, but the rest of the crew made sure he wouldn't forget them. They tore down his cabin in a final act of frustration brought another unforgettable clash. Dave Tran and Trey Son had always viewed heads, but splitting into separate teams turned their rivalry toxic. Turan's side struggled, while Polson's team hit gold. The frustration boiled over into an all-out fight. Turan took the worst of it and walked away, leaving the Hoffman crew forever. This wasn't just about the gold anymore, this was personal. Parker Schnabel and Tony Beats had their own legendary feud. Parker once saw Tony as a mentor, but Beats was never the type to hold anyone's hand when Tony shut down Parker's wash plant. Parker retaliated in the only way he knew how, by dumping dirt on Tony's land. It was a warning shot, a sign that Parker wasn't going to roll over and let the old guard push him around. Saw another explosive moment. Foreman Kendall Madden called out Johnny Stan for slacking off, and the confrontation spiraled fast. Stans wasn't about to take the criticism lying down, and the fight nearly derailed the entire operation. Madden later tried to smooth things over, but the damage had already been done. The deeper Parker dug, the stranger things got. He could take the gold and leave buried fortune hidden. Truths nobody knew this mine existed at. Trusting my equipment, but I don't even want to look over the edge right now. But some things are left buried for a reason. The further Parker ventured into the depths, the heavier the air became. His boots crushed loose gravel beneath him as he moved cautiously, the walls around him whispering stories of the past, with every crack and crevice. What was once an exhilarating discovery had become an unnerving descent into the unknown. Something wasn't right, and every instinct in his body screamed at him to reconsider his next step. But gold fever does strange things to a man, and Parker was in deep. His team followed, exchanging nervous glances. They had all been through their fair share of dangerous dogs, but this was different. There was no historical record of this place. No maps, no journals, no hints of its existence. It was as if time itself had swallowed this mine whole and spat it back out, only for them to find. Then they saw them strange markings carved into the walls, not just your typical miners' tally marks or crude initials, but intricate patterns, precise geometric designs that didn't belong in an old gold mine. They weren't random, and that was the part that sent chills down Parker's spine. Someone had been here before, but they hadn't been mining at least not for gold. The chamber ahead loomed like a secret waiting to be unearthed. With a deep breath, Parker pressed forward, stepping over broken planks and loose debris. The air grew thick with dust each inhale coated with the musty scent of forgotten history. The light from their headlamps flickered against something metallic in the distance, not gold this time, something else. It was a door, a heavy rusted slab of iron that didn't belong in a centuries old mind. It stood there defiantly, its presence anachronistic, impossible, possible, yet undeniably real. Parker ran a gloved hand over the corroded surface, his pulse quickening. Who in their right mind builds a door in the middle of nowhere inside a mine? Nobody was supposed to know about. His team exchanged hesitant glances, waiting for his call. The choice was his: dig for answers or take the gold and get out. While they still could, Parker knew the safe choice. He also knew he wouldn't take it. With a grunt, he signaled to his crew they were going through that door, no matter what lay on the other side. The hinges screeched as they forced it open, revealing a passageway shrouded in darkness. The walls were lined with something different now, not rock, not wood, but smooth stone, as if carved by hands that knew more than just mining. The air was stale, untouched for what felt like centuries. Every step echoed, bouncing off unseen walls. Parker's heart pounded. This was no longer about gold. This was something else, something ancient, something that had been waiting for them. Should Parker have kept digging? Or was he about to uncover something best left buried? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more discoveries.